you doing there? Welcome to JROCK TV. We're just getting this launched this week, so I really appreciate you being one of the first bands to take part of this. We are talking to you, of course. Many people know you as a co-founder of Hellstar, but we're talking to you today about your other band, Santa Obscuridad. Is that how you pronounce it?
Santa Oscuridad, yeah.
Okay, and this is quite a different from Hellstar or any other metal band, because I mean it's a Spanish metal band, and typically, I'll be honest, I don't listen to stuff that I don't understand. But the interesting thing in prepping for today's interview, I listen to stuff and it really doesn't even matter if it's in Spanish. So let's talk a little bit about this band and how you got involved in it.
Well, we started the band. That's going on almost 4 years now. We lost a couple of years with COVID, obviously. We had put the band together just prior to COVID happening, actually. So we were into it maybe almost a year into it, and then COVID happened right when we were releasing our second EP. And basically it was the other guitarist, Rudy Rocha, and we've been friends for a while, and we went to go see a rock en español tribute band. Wow. And we had said, wow, the only thing missing in rock en español is rock, because it's all kind of pop type music, and Rudy said, we should just do something that's like heavy then. Let's put something together in Spanish. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. Spanish is my first language.
Oh, interesting. So if you don't mind me asking, where are you originally from?
I'm from Houston. I'm from Houston, Texas, but my grandparents raised me, and they spoke literally very little English, so Spanish was the first language, and it was the music that we would listen to on the weekends, and we would listen to the mariachi songs, the rancheros and stuff like that. So when I went to kindergarten, I spoke no English. My grandparents, actually my grandfather was the one that came up with the idea of, like, let's put this little kid in front of the TV and make him watch the news every day. Wow. And maybe he'll pick up more. And that really helped me, in learning the language, and then just being in school, and, kids pick up the language very quickly.
I know somebody who Spanish is his first language too. And he was telling me when he first came to the United States, but he learned English was listening to like movies in English. And he's like, just watching the movies, I would learn that way.
Yeah. But the reason my grandfather said, let's make him watch the news, is because there's very little slang in the news. So he was wanting me to, not pick up on all the slang terms. He wanted me to actually learn how to speak English, which
another interesting thing about your story and being a metal musician is, I imagine, coming from your Spanish background, don't have a lot of, maybe outside of like Sepultura, don't have a lot of, Spanish speaking metal bands.
There's a few out there. There are a few, but we don't they don't get all the glory that the rest of the get,
And what has that process been like? I mean, compared to your experience with, say, when you were with Hellstar, I mean, the big difference between that and this being a Spanish band is that I imagine you get all kinds of press from the Spanish community and English and just different types of things all around the world.
Yeah, I mean, people, a lot of times they don't even realize that we're singing in Spanish until maybe halfway through the set. They're like, oh,
yeah, that's kind of my experience. Like in prepping for Video Day, went on the YouTube channel last night, was checking out some of your music. I was really impressed again, knowing that you guys were kind of a Spanish band. It didn't really seem to matter, but I guess the most difficulty I had was kind of not speaking Spanish myself, being able to pronounce the songs, but it didn't really seem to matter because, interestingly enough, the music and the song was just kind of, it was beautiful, or it was different from what I typically listen to, and it didn't seem to matter. Typically, when a lot of people, when I listen to a song, I'm listening to what's the meaning behind the song, what are the words and the lyrics. And even though I wasn't able to do that, I guess the music was front and center for me. That was my experience. That's what I took away from it. And it was a kind of a different experience, but it didn't really seem to matter. And I think that's a unique experience to have.
Yeah, and we've had that happen a couple of times. We opened up for Saxon,
Wow.
and all English speaking crowd basically. And by the end of the night, they all had their fists in the air, and it was really cool to see it from the stage, looking out and have people kind of like, oh, okay, these guys aren't singing in English, and then they're just like slowly but surely like bobbing their heads, and then like into the total, like at the end, like and that was really special. We opened up for there's a band called Metalachi. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Actually, yeah, they play the clubs around here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of that.
They do. They're kind of doing it maybe the opposite of what we do. They're doing the music in Spanish, but the lyrics in English.
Yeah.
And so we opened up for them, and it was the same thing because there's a lot of English speaking people that go see Metalachi, and at the end of that set too was like, yeah, that was killer. We liked it. And then we have obviously those people that go see them that are Spanish speaking and were like, oh, finally, something in our language.
Yeah.
That's what we kind of. That's kind of, I don't want to say our motto, but we always say like that this is metal in our language.
Yeah.
It's cultural. I mean, like I said, that was my first language, and that was a
language. Have you guys been to Mexico or anything like that? And what was that experience like? Because I'd imagine they'd really embrace you over there.
Hellstar's been, but not Santa Oscuridad yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, slowly but surely, we're like I said, we're almost still fledgling in that we're just trying to get the word out there that this band exists and stuff. You don't realize how much COVID hurt, until kind of look back and like, wow, we lost 2 years.
The cool thing I think for people just discovering your band is, like I said, I went on YouTube last night and I was checking out some of your stuff. You guys got 2 releases, I think. One is called Dose, and one is a self-titled one. And in spite of COVID, I think when you guys do, you guys have been doing some shows lately. I've seen on your Facebook page with two EP that you got a decent amount of, to create a decent set list, I would think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. We have more music than that we play live.
Sure. Yeah.
We're working on the third one, and we have everything to do 2 more.
Yeah.
I mean, the days of doing the full album, I mean, those days are over. I mean, the album dies so fast, and then you have like all that music that's just not.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is I'm an old school guy myself. I miss the days of. Do you remember when they had record stores and you could go and buy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going days buying, Kiss Destroyer, Iron Maiden's Number of Beast, and being so young at the time, not even knowing who the band was. But I don't know what that is, man. But it looks so cool. I got to get my hands on that. And just
and that was my experience with Iron Maiden too. It was like I remember holding that first album, and it was in that flimsy plastic because it was an import, and just looking at the cover and going like, this has to be cool,
So let me ask you, Larry, between Hellstar and this band, is there any difference in like writing the songs? I mean, obviously these are Spanish lyrics and stuff, but I guess what I'm asking is is it more based on the guitar riffs and the music, or would you say the lyrics are equally as important?
I think the lyrics are equally as important, but musically, the 2 bands, I approach the music very different in that, like Santa Oscuridad is a little more straightforward, hard rock metal. And
you guys are definitely a metal band. I guess what I'm asking is, like, when you do something, let's say with a typical metal band like Hellstar, a lot of times all the audience cares about is it's a real heavy, aggressive song that's going to hit them over the head. Whereas maybe with Santa Oscuridad, it's more about the music. It's more about what it sounds like. It doesn't necessarily have to hit you over the head, although because you guys are a metal band, it has to have some of that. But you know what I mean? It's maybe the box is a little more open for you.
Yes and no. I mean, with Hellstar, the stuff has to be a little more complex.
Mm-hmm.
And we have James is our vocalist, so he's in the forefront of the band. So you know, with Santa, like I said, it's a little more straightforward. First chorus, you know, not very, not a lot of real technical runs or anything like that.
Yeah.
We didn't want, really didn't want to. I didn't want to do another Hellstar. I mean, if I wanted to do
Hell, you just do another Hellstar album, right?
Yeah, another Hellstar. But so this band is definitely, we approach it with like, let's do like a cross between like an Accept and Scorpions type,
yeah,
vision of this band or version of that, but that's not to say that we won't do anything that's a little more complex, but we wanted it to be a little more in your face, just kind of punch you in the face. And
as we speak, I see in the room you're talking to us from, I guess at your home, looks like a music room. You got guitars all around you there.
Yeah, this is a studio. This is where I've recorded a couple of the Hellstar albums, did both of the Santa Oscuridad EPs here, and it's kind of our little media room that we're, whenever I do the interviews and stuff, I'm sitting in here.
And, I always love to ask people, like, especially, again, I apologize if I'm chopping up a name, but Santa Obscuridad, that's a interesting original sounding name, obviously. Do you remember how you guys came up with the name? Much of a story there?
Yeah, when we put the band together, everything started happening very fast. Like, it was just something that my guitarist, the other guitarist, Rudy Rocha, and I were talking about. And the band that we were watching, two of their members are in Santa Oscuridad now. Oh. And when they walked off for a break, we asked bass player Ray Solis, like, "Hey man, we're putting a band together. You want to be in it?" And he was like, "With you two guys? Yeah, sure, I'll do it." So that night we already had 3 members. So I went home and I started writing music, and I think I came up with maybe like 3 songs in that week or a couple of days or so. I started sending them out. And the vocalist, Juan Ramirez, who was in that tribute band that we had watched, we brought him in because, he spoke Spanish.
Sure.
Obviously, he was doing it, and he was down with it. And we have our drummer, Jaime Recio. So within maybe 2 weeks, we had like all the members, but had never played together.
Okay, wow.
And so once I wrote a few more songs, I said, okay, let's have a rehearsal. And Juan wrote a lot. He writes great Spanish lyrics, and I can, that was a challenge for me. It was like, well, can I do this in Spanish as well? And I did. And so we had our first rehearsal, and then we started talking about, well, we need a name. And so every name we would come up with, it was like, well, let's look it up on the internet. Oh, no, somebody's already called that. Like, oh, okay, well, how's this name? Like, no, somebody's already called that. And then Rudy came up with Santa Oscuridad, and I said, oh, let's look it up and see if, I like it. I don't know
what it means.
If it's out there, and they're like, yeah, no one had it. So we said, okay, well, let's call ourselves that, and let's hurry up and do a logo and get it going. And the translation of that is Holy Darkness. So that's, we have the cross and then the pitchfork at the bottom of that, because I thought it was like, well, it's kind of duality of
kind of like Black Sabbath used to do in the day. I've heard Geezer Butler talk over the years that his whole thing about, he takes his Christianity very serious, but Black Sabbath would always use like the cross, and he'd always wear crosses when he'd go on stage, and people like, okay, are you with God? Or are you with the devil? And stuff like that. Yeah. And so who were, as far as guitar players when you were growing up, Larry, who were the guys that did it for you, really influenced you to want to do what you're doing?
Oh, I mean, I'm old too, man. So it was Tony Iommi and Richie Blackmore and Jimmy
right there,
those first few Rush albums were, very influential to me. And then, Iron Maiden, Adrian Smith, and as we got older, we started listening to all this other stuff, and obviously Randy Rhoads, big influence for me.
Randy's interesting because, when you think about it, he was early on in Quiet Riot, but as far as his legacy goes, for having the legacy he does, just has those 2 Ozzy albums. And for anybody to be able to have that kind of legacy with just 2 albums, that says it all right there about the guy's talent,
It was groundbreaking, man. It was so different, because he took those elements of the kind of the classical playing and had like the kind of pentatonic playing as well. He mixed them up very well, and those songs are really heavy and dark, especially those ones on Diary of a Madman.
In fact, I think what made those albums so unique, from what I understand, is like you said, Randy was much more raised around classical music. And there was talk that had he lived, he was going to leave Ozzy's band and go on to have a classical. We will never know. But in fact, I guess just because his talent as a guitar player, but he was able to do what he did on those two Ozzy albums, even though he wasn't really into Sabbath or anything like that. He had other influences, but that's kind of what he brought to Ozzy's band, you know?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to see him like maybe a couple of weeks before the death, you know, the plane wreck and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, he was the idol, you know.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he's actually the reason I stand on the other side of the stage, because when I was, when we're, playing covers and barely, our own music, I stood on stage left, which is where, because I was like, I wanted to be like Randy. And then when he died, I said, I can no longer stand on that side. You know, I don't deserve to. And that's why I stand on stage right now. So
you don't hear stuff like that too often. Wow, that's pretty. That's amazing right there. What you just said.
That's the reason I stand on stage right, and I'll never change. You know, because it's really in full respect to Randy Rhoads. You know.
So you mentioned you guys are as far as Santa Oscuridad, you guys are working on new music. Probably going to be another EP. And do you have a projected release date, or just kind of it's in the works?
Hopefully this year. I don't really have an actual release date. We have some stuff to finish up still, some drum and bass things, but hopefully we can get that done here in the next couple months. And then after that, just get it mastered
and put it. Anything new planned for Hellstar?
Hellstar is we're just about finished with the next album too. Again, we need to come, we gotta get together and kind of mess with some of the arrangements, but I think we have a good solid 8-9 songs done. So no title as of yet, but
I think that'll come out later in the year too, or maybe next year. What's your projection?
Probably, if anything, it'll be out at the end of the year.
Yeah, okay. It is hard to work your schedules around to do both bands, or you just find a way to do it, huh?
Just find a way to do it. Yeah, I mean, there are deadlines, so you have to meet those deadlines somehow or another.
Yeah. And oh wow, so like, will you say some of the fans that are checking out this band? I imagine you get a certain percent of the fan base from just your Hellstar fans, but is there a certain number of people discovering you just through this band and just what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I would think so, because I mean, Rudy Rocha, he plays in a really big Tejano band, which is kind of a regional type music in Spanish as well, but it's a little more like oh God, I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like polkas and cumbias and stuff like that. I mean, he's 3-time Grammy nominated.
Oh, wow. Wow. Talk about,
So people are actually going to go see him and going like, oh, wow, I wonder who this other guy is, that have no idea.
The Hellstar he's in. Wow.
Yeah. So it worked. It's worked out both ways, where some people are coming to see the band because of, maybe they know Hellstar or Love and War, who Ray plays in that band as well. And so they come to see the rock side, and they're like, oh, wow, that's Rudy Rocha. He plays in La Fiebre, so wow. Yeah, it's been nice, to be able to reach out to some of those fans too.
Yeah, that's real fun. Wow. And so you guys are doing some touring now, or you're basically concentrating on the new EP, you said?
We're playing. I mean, we're trying to play as much as possible. That's the only way you can get people out.
And here's the last question. Crazy question, maybe. Being that you're in these two different bands, have you ever toyed with the idea of maybe both bands like being on the same bill, or that'd be kind of really crazy?
Oh, yeah. We've actually done that.
And what was that like for you? I mean, I imagine.
Well,
work out that night, huh?
Well, Hellstar headline, and then there was another band in between us, and then Santa Oscuridad opened up, so that gave me like a little break between the two bands.
To cool down, right?
Yeah.
when you do a show like that, how hard it is, because you know you got two different bands, two different sets, and you gotta have that all in your head. Like, okay, this is Hellstar, this is, you know.
I practice a lot. I
Yeah,
practice, and so I've never had an issue with like, oh well, you know, what, I can't remember the song or whatever like that.
Not you can't remember a song. I guess when you know, you'd have to be able to. You're doing two different sets. I imagine it's quite a workout, is what I'm saying. You know, for any musician. Oh, yeah.
Physically, it's tiring. You know.
But then after you do both sets, you come off the stage and you must feel, oh man, what a night! Yeah, we delivered the good.
Yeah, I feel good that, you know, we were able to pull it off. You know, but that's only happened once that the both bands were on the same.
Of course, yeah. Not gonna do it every night, but it's fun. Even just the thought of it sounds like a unique opportunity. Well, Larry, I'd like to thank you for taking time to be part of JROCK Riffs TV today. This is something we're just launching this week. I really enjoyed, you know, talking before. I did an email interview previously for knac.com, and
okay.
So let's keep in touch. And anytime you have anything to promote, please feel free to let your publicist Ben know, or me, and we can do this again. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I really appreciate it. And this will be going up probably in the next week or two. I'll let you and Ben know as soon as I have a date for that. Okay.
Right on. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.